Computer Guy. Today we're here in Bitwig Studio. We're going to talk about basic music theory. Now, I don't have years and years of music theory training or anything like that. In fact, there's a lot of things about music theory I don't know anything about. All I know is that now, in the modern age of music creation, with everybody using a DAW as opposed to sitting in front of like an acoustic piano, people are very familiar with the piano roll. And muscle memory is not where you want to be as far as music theory. You want to learn just basic patterns and how to know if you're within a scale. Let's go ahead and take a look at today's lesson, and what we're going to do is we're going to break this down into the most simplest concepts and then kind of go from there. So we're here, like I say, in Bitwig Studio. We're in the edit page, so we have just the piano roll, and you can see if you zoom in on this, you can actually, it'll show you individual notes if you zoom in enough, so you can see the actual notes there. And what we're going to talk about today is eliminating the sharps and flats. Get rid of the sharps and flats, because that's where the muscle memory really has to kick in. The sharps and flats are basically all the black keys. So what we're going to do is we're going to stay with just the white notes. That way, again, it simplifies things down a bit. Now, if you start on, we're going to just start with an A here, okay? This is an A, the note of A. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to slide this to the left of the loop marker. We'll show you why we're going to do this here in a minute. But if we start with A and we skip all the sharps and flats, in other words, all the white keys, that's going to put us in a minor scale. The great thing about this is you can go ahead and highlight this and push this up. Let's go with 3 octaves here. And you can see that we've started with an A and we've done all the white notes with no sharps and flats. The great thing about this is you can fold this down now and you can see all these keys are good. In other words, as long as you stay within this folded grid, you will not go out of the scale. Now, another good thing about this is you can, based on what key your song is in, using this template, what you want to do is you want to put your notes together, put your chord progressions together, and then you can hit Control A and slide this. Whoops. Yeah, let's redo that here. Welcome to the world of live streaming. I hit Control Z instead of Control A. Okay, so you can hit Control A. Once you've put together your chord progression and whatever you need to do, hit Control A and slide this. Let's say you're going to be in D. Let's say you're in the key of D. Your song is in the key of D. Your vocals, your bass line, everything is in the key of D. All you have to do is slide this. Now, by sliding this, what you've done is you've bumped a couple of these notes onto the sharps and flats. But you didn't have to memorize the D minor scale, because you used the A minor reference as a reference, built up your melody, your chord progression, your harmony, your melody, what you built up your song, and then you moved it to the D minor scale. And then that automatically pushed your sharps and flats to where they need to be. But you use the A as a reference. Now, this also works, of course, with C major. That's all the white keys with C. And that's the scale that most people learn on, is C major. The difference between a major and a minor scale is a major scale is going to have kind of a happy, peppy feel. A minor scale is going to have kind of a melancholy, sadder, slower kind of. I'm a big fan of minor scales. So what I do is when I sit down to write a song, I just go right into A minor and I write all my material, and then I hit the Control A, or I highlight all my notes, and then I move them to whatever key I want my song to be in. Now, how you discover what key your song is going to be in, that has to do with, in my opinion, the lowest note in your bass line, or if you're a singer, whatever notes you hit when you sing. So I would base the key of your song either on your vocal performance, or what your singer, the key that your singer gravitates towards, or the lowest note in your bass line. And we'll have some live streams coming up talking about what key to put your song in. Now there's other scales. There's a minor and a major, but there's other scales. There's the Dorian, the Phrygian, the Lydian, the Mixolydian, well, that's the minor scale, and then the Locrian. Now, all those scales, you can even Google it, look online, they all have the exact same concept, except with no sharps and flats. If you start on different keys, like for the Dorian, it's D to D with no sharps and flats. For the Phrygian, it's E to E with no sharps and flats. For Lydian, it's F to F with no sharps and flats. For Mixolydian, it's G to G with no sharps and flats. For the minor is A to A with no sharps and flats, and then the Locrian is B to B with no sharps or flats. Now, to have that information, I don't have that memorized, but I have a single piece of paper that has all that information on it. I'm not going to have to be like, okay, I want to be in D Locrian. Okay, I need to memorize that scale. That's just no, you don't need to. You need to reference your scale with no sharps or flats. And then with Bitwig Studio, it's great because you can fold this down and then you can do no wrong. Now, another great thing about this is you can build your chords this way. Let's go back to here. Let's actually put this back to the A minor. Like I say, I recommend building your chord progression in the scale with no sharps and flats. So that's why we went back to A minor. I know I can paint in A minor and not have to worry about sharps and flats. Okay, so if you skip every other white note, you're building chords. So see how I skipped the second, went to the third white note, skipped the fourth, and went to the fifth white note. So this right here is an A minor triad. That's it. Now, if you want to make a fifth or a seventh or a ninth, you just add. You skip one more, this is a fifth. Skip one more, this is a seventh. Skip one more, that's a ninth. So that's a ninth chord. That's an A minor ninth chord. Built. Very simple. You didn't have to memorize anything. You just had to memorize a simple process. As if you skip every other white note, it creates a chord. Now there's other things. There's borrowed chords, and there's little rules here and there, and that's kind of advanced music theory. And I did bother to learn all that, and I put it down on a single sheet of paper because it is useful information, but it's not necessary information. Let's go ahead and go back to just my triad. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this down, and you'll see that, yes, I've skipped every other note. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to paint this in real quick. Again, I'm using the folded piano roll. Why I'm using the folded piano roll is it's just super easy to see what you're doing. Now, you're going to hear people say stuff like, oh, that's a 4 chord, or that's a 5 chord, or a chord progression. That's a 1, 4, 5. You'll hear stuff like that. And all that means, really, is what note of the scale. So this is the first note of the scale, so this is the 1 chord. This is the second note of the scale, that's a 2 chord. Let's go ahead and turn the audition on. So that's a 1 chord. Hello? Hello? Oh, I can't hear that. Why can't I hear that? Oh no. I hope I have audio. Do I have audio? Oh, jeez. Alright, let's go ahead and hold on a second. We love the live stream. If we hit shift arrow up, it's going to bump all of our stuff up. I was way too low of an octave there. Okay, so... why is that not auditioning? That's very unusual. Not important. Alright, so basically right here, this is a 1 chord, a 2 chord. The third note of the scale is going to be the 3 chord. The fourth note of the scale is a 4 chord, 5th chord, 6th chord, 7th chord, and then back to our root. This is an octave higher. So... basic stuff. So if somebody says we're going to do a 1, 4, 5, that's the first chord, the 4th chord, and the 5th chord. That's a chord progression. A chord progression is just basically 3, 4, 5, 6 chords lined up in a progression, a pattern. It should just be called a chord pattern, but it's a progression because often it will progress somewhere. It's always good to have your chord progression go somewhere and then come back. And that's a whole nother element of music theory. Now you'll see we did this with these folded up. What we're going to do is we're going to go back to the plain piano roll because there's something very unique going on here. And this has to do with the chord quality. Now you can see the first chord here. There's 2 notes separating the first 2 notes, and there's 3 notes between the second and third note. What does this mean? This means this is a minor chord. because there's a distance of 2. There's 2 spaces between the first and the second. That makes it a minor chord. Okay, the second one here, very unique. There's 2 and 2. This is a diminished chord. This is a more rare chord here. So looking at the space between your notes tells you what type of chord it is. So this is the distance between the notes is 2 and 3. That's a minor chord. Here it's 2 and 2. That's a diminished chord. That's a little bit more of a rare chord right there. This one is 3-2. This is a major chord because because the distance between the first 2 notes is 3. So you can see we have a minor because it's a 2-3. We're talking about the distance between the notes. Minor is the 2-3. Diminished is 2-2. And then major is 3 and 2. So what type of chord is this? 2 and 3. That's right, it's a minor chord. This one, another minor chord. This one, major chord because there's 3 and 2. This one, major chord because there's 3 and 2. And then this one, again, is a minor chord because we're back to our root here. So just simple, basic music theory stuff, but you're not having to memorize it. You're not like, oh, what's the 4 chord in the A minor scale? Is that major or minor? Just you know, type it in and see what it is. So yeah, very useful information. And what I like about this technique is when you find whatever key your song's in, you can just go ahead and hit Control A. Let's say you want to be working in a G sharp. Bam, just go to G sharp. Or you can go over to the inspector and just type in G sharp right here. You know, let's say you want to be in a F, then you just hit F. And just hit F. Screw it. Anyway, you can use that as well. I just always like hitting Control A and just dragging it to where it needs to be. But yeah, so you got your minor, your diminished, your major chord. You also have an augmented chord if there's 4 and 4. Like this is whoops, that's not. This would be an example of an augmented chord, as if you were to do that where it's 3 and 3. That's an augmented chord. Those are a little bit rare. So those are the 2 weird ones. Is 2 and 2 is diminished, 3 and 3 is augmented, and then 3 and 2 is minor, and then whoops, I changed that back here, and then 3 and 2 is major. And so those are the 4 basic. I mean, the thing with music theory is that it goes on and on and on, and there's just tons of complexity. But I recommend learning the most basic music theory. And with the modern DAW, the modern way that music is built on computers, it's really not worth your time unless you're going to be a classical pianist that doesn't like computers and just sits in front of a grand piano and learns. That's good. But if you're going to be building your music on a computer and staring at a piano roll instead of an actual, then this is a better way, in my opinion. This is what's working for me to learn music theory. It's just starting with whatever key your song's going to be in, or actually ending up in whatever key your song's going to be in. In other words, starting with an A minor, a C major, a Locrian, whatever mode. Those are modes, not scales. And building up your chord progression or your melody in that particular, like I say, A minor, C major, whatever, where there's no sharps and flats. Building it up with no sharps and flats, less muscle memory, and then once you decide what key your song's going to be in, just move everything. Just hit Control A, highlight all your stuff, lasso all your notes, and move it to that proper root note that puts your song in key. So again, I think we pretty much covered most of everything today. I'm going to hit Control A, put this back on the A2 here, and let's go ahead and play this. As you can see, this template, I pushed it to the left of the starting line. That way, when you fold this down and you play your chord progression, it's not going to play as opposed to this, That way you're not getting this clunk, at the beginning. Who wants that? So there you go. So if you want to do like, let's say a 1-4, let's say a 1 4 7. That's going to be our chord progression. So what you do is there's your 1 chord, there's your 4 chord, there's your 7 chord. Okay, so that's your progression. So you could extend these out, extend that out there, extend that out there, and hit play. And this is going to be this is a 1 4 7 chord progression. This is an A minor 1 4 7 chord progression. This is what we're going to play right here. Wow! Hit song. There's other things. This is just the most basic music theory. But take advantage of your piano roll. Take advantage of the fact that that you can fold your notes down. Take advantage of the fact that you're looking at the entire piano roll as opposed to having to memorize all those different notes and chords on an actual piano. Again, we're going to go into inversions, inverting chords probably next week. By doing that, you can invert your chord. Blah, blah, blah. All right, so enough for today. But yeah, please, if you haven't already, please subscribe. The live casts are a little bit choppy. I do prefer to edit my videos, but I don't have the time to put them in Premiere Pro and mess around with video editing. Editing screencast is like a root canal. It's horrible. I can't stand doing it. It feels like work, and so I just basically don't have the time and energy to edit the Chill Computer Guy tutorials anymore. So what I'm going to do is just do live streaming. So if there's little hiccups and bumps here and there, you know, it's just off the top of the head. But this has really helped me. This is how I learned music theory. Because I didn't know I'm a drummer. I didn't know anything about music theory. So I come in to the digital audio workstation and I see a piano roll, and I see little things I can do to make this all click for me, and it works for me. And like I say, it's just my opinion. It's just the way I do things. I'm not trying to say this is the best way or the way to do things. Everybody has their own technique, but this has really helped me with my really limited music theory knowledge. Is just you know, putting together your chord and your melody within, you know, the A minor, C major, Locrian, whatever scale or mode you're going to be in, taking out the sharps and flats. That way you don't have to mess with the muscle memory, putting it together, and then later on moving it to whatever key your song's going to be in. So anyway, Chill Computer Guy, we'll see you guys next week. Please subscribe, comment, give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. You know, but yeah, do something. Tell a friend, and we'll try to have some more tutorials coming up next week. Thank you.